I decided I should finish this Brodak Super Clown ARF. I got a plugged up NCA bottle going on here. So what I got going here, as I mentioned in the previous video, this is going to be part 2. I had to build a new fuselage. I used 1/8 aircraft ply in the nose. I should have went one size down. Probably should have used a little thinner stuff, but it's a tad on the heavy side, but oh well. I decided to put this plane together because we have a old time competition, so I'll use this. And I had an electric one that actually flew quite well. So other than the fuselage being a total disaster and having to build a new one, this thing's not too bad. And all the cutaways and the control surface is pretty much or the right width for these anyway. And I didn't have to change anything. Everything was like dead center, which is a nice surprise after having to build a new fuselage. I had originally stretched it a couple of inches, and I decided to go back to the original length, and I kind of screwed it up, so I just laminated an extension there to get the proper length. Damn thing plugged up again. Run a pin right down the side of that so the glue can wick in there. So I decided to well, you got to make a new mount for the skid, and what I did was I took a 3/16 piece of hardwood dowel, drilled a hole, and I glued that in there. Now the idea behind that is, because I use a stooge, I glue this or epoxy this plywood mount in. I'm going to make a new tail skid of the 16th piano wire. I'm going to put a round loop on the end so I can put the stooge pin through it. And not sure which end. I think this end is supposed to go in, but I'm going to make the end that goes into the fuselage longer, so, and it'll go right through the center of this hardwood dowel, making it stronger, because I've kind of seen these work loose and they'll move from side to side. When you get that hardwood dowel in there, it won't do that. Yeah, the tail skid mount taped on, the epoxy's drying. I got the 1/4 inch hardwood dowel CA'd in there and drilled. Next job will be drilling those landing gear holes, which I'll probably end up doing right now. Another thing I ended up doing was drilling out the hole for the landing gear. And the way the Brodaks are set up, the gear only goes in so far. It's about halfway. So the landing gear meets in the middle instead of being staggered. So because that's so kind of short, a little concerned about it wearing the hole. So what I did is I drilled it oversized and I put a piece of brass tubing in there as a liner. But I leave it about 1/16 of an inch shy of the face of the plywood because of the bend on the inside there. Will need a small relief, so the wire will actually sit flush. on the plywood. So I got it in there. You can see it's nice and tight. It's just a tad sloppy when you put it in, but once you put the clamps on, you're fine. These are 1/8 do-broke gear clamps. The clamps that came with the ARF will probably be good on half A, but they sure as hell aren't going to fit over that. So I thought maybe I'd force them down, but it's just not going to happen. Not even close. That brass tube I put in there, I just got it where I wanted it, and I gently hit it with CA and a wick around the bronze. You don't need it to be anchored in there with epoxy or anything, just as long as the glue's tacking it in place, which I did on both sides. And I got my mount all in. I just got to drill the hole, and I got the tail weight. Now I'll check the balance before I even do anything, and I know it's going to be nose heavy, but in the off slim chance it's not, then I'll just leave the covering. I don't have to do anything with that. Some more clowning around. I got 1/4 inch dowel installed and drilled for the push rod guide, just to keep it old school, and of course in the tail for the weights, which I'm sure it's going to need. I put a little mark here, and that's where the horn center hole is for the flaps, and that's for the rod going to the tail. I put another little mark here where the quick connector, easy connector is going to go. And I had the hinge in place because it'll be, the trailing edge is right on the edge of the fuselage, and the elevator will be out here. So I put the horn in line with that, and I measured 10.5 inches. So I went 5 1/4 inches with a ruler lining up these two marks. What's that? So you got one side partially covered. I always do the back and up to the doublers on the front. But before I did any of this, I did go in here and CA it, like I said I would. It helps fuel proof everything. Then I CA'd all the holes, and I ran the drill through them again, and they're all sealed up. I got the covering job all finished. Didn't turn out as good as I'd like. You can see in the back here, it looks pretty good. Like stretching the monocoat over, it turned out very well. I'm very pleased with that. But in the front, man, I just couldn't get it to work for me along the top here. I think what I should have done, where it's wider, is do what I did in the nose here. Just put a strip down, bring the covering around the corner, and just trim it off there. So next time, and you won't get those damn wrinkles in it. I may redo that yet. We'll see. The sticks it on the plywood worked beautiful. It just went on really, really nice. Calling this covering on this ARF garbage would be a very, very unkind thing to say about garbage. That's all I can say. This is probably the most horrid crap I've ever had to work with in my life. And I've worked on some shitty, cheap Chinese ARFs, I'll tell you. So what I'm doing is I'm going around all these edges that refuse to stay down. I'm pulling them back. And putting a little coat of this Sig Stexit on there. I've done this before and it's worked. So Yeah, sticks it sure took care of the adhesion issues there. It's staying down pretty nice. The plans actually tell you to use Gorilla Glue or Sumo Glue to glue your hinges in, so I thought I'd give it a try, see what happened. I sanded the blade of the hinge like I always do. I've done this before, but I guess that kind of speaks for itself. You can see how the pin in the hinge is all bent and twisted. That this I tried to separate from the wood, but it didn't give it all. It looks like Sumo Glue and Gorilla Glue. What's this is Gorilla Glue. I'm assuming they're the same thing. Works very well on hinges. But the Gorilla Glue did foam up a little into the hinge, but because of the oil it didn't. As you can see, it's nice and free. So I was kind of impressed with that. The only downside with the Gorilla Glue, it takes a long time to dry. Tried thin CA on those other side of those hinges, as Brodak recommended. I'll never ever do that again. It's lots of fun. Good thing I oiled these hinges. But that stuff gets right in there. It's got a little clunking to it, which is not good. So I kind of went back to the Gorilla Glue, and it turns out that stuff is also cleanable with alcohol. A little bit foamed out and got on the hinge. Again, it's not a big deal because it won't stick, but hey, why not clean it off if you can? And I did. Oh yeah, that fixed those right up. But I have left the elevator overnight. When I came down, they're all glued, but because of the oil, they just snapped free. So I ended up drilling that out to get the wire to fit with a 1/8 drill bit. No biggie, but this is. Something's rubbing in there. Pull down. I think the bell crank is actually rubbing against a rib or something in there. I can't see in there to find out what it is. So I have a choice. Dig into cut the sheeting off and have a look, or just let it wear. I'll tell you where I stand with this thing now. I'm just going to let it wear. I really don't feel like digging into that, putting a patch on it. I just kind of reached the point I don't give a shit. Doing a test run with the flaps on. I have to say, it's a nice tight fit. Probably gonna CA the wing on because I built the fuselage. It's fitting really nice and snug on the wing, except for in the front. But just even tight. So I'll probably nail it with thin once I get everything lined up, and then chase over it again with medium. I've done that on the P40 and it worked like a damn. Okay, I give them another hit of oil. I'm using Ballastone on these little bottles. Now I'm going to use the Gorilla Glue. I'm going to use a little less this time. I haven't done on video how I go about this, but kind of followed Brodak's instructions. Just put a drop. Stuff is thick. A drop on the end of the hinge, and I was going up to the holes on towards the end of the hinge, but I find when I do that and I push the hinge in, again you'll need methyl hydrate, but it's glue's piling up on the end. If your hinge is oiled, I find with this glue, and the alcohol removes this stuff too, by the way. It's harder to remove than the epoxy. I got my damp square, and a drop could mean anything really. So I just put a drop on that comes out of the Gorilla bottle. You're not supposed to get this on your hands. Of course, you're not supposed to get epoxy on your hands either. We all do it. You're not supposed to get CA on your hands. But, we'll see. Man, that covering is absolutely crap. So, as usual, do a fit test before you glue your flaps. And this is not the way they tell you to do it, but the fuselage has a cutaway in it to slide the flaps in, and then that just doesn't make sense. So I figure you're much better off mounting or hinging flaps and then put the whole assembled thing in than struggling around with the way they tell you to do it. This is how the P40 went together and it worked great. Sometimes you need a little gap there. So full down, full up. Push that in a bit. That'll do it. Yeah, I got about 1/16 to a 32nd there. So any little cleanup you can do. The alcohol takes care of the Gorilla Glue like right now. For the the push rod obviously to the tail. And you probably can't see it, but I was looking for the solder. I was like, well, what's holding that washer on that screw there? All they did was crimp it on. So this washer is literally squished in there. Might have used a hammer and give it a smack, who knows. So, you know, eventually probably sooner than later. Engine vibration will knock that off. So I took a brass 440 screw and a washer, and I put this in a vise. My vise has a notch in it for doing wires and stuff. Tap the top down so that this washer fit in there to the point where I had to tap it in. I flattened one side of it first, tapped it in and soldered it. Yeah, like you're supposed to do. So as you can see, I went to town on her. Wasn't anything spectacular about the rest of it. I epoxied the horizontal stab on. A couple of tons of weight on the tail there. So I kind of expected, because I used the 1/8 inch ply on the nose. So I found an old top plate, the big old paddle blades on her. So I stuck that on it. Decided to mount the tank with the brass mounts. Just soldered them on. I tinned the mount and then I tinned the tank. And I went heavy on tinning the mount, and then I heated up the mount, screwed to a piece of flattened 2x4 I planed out, and just kept heating it until it came to, till you feel the solder let go. Soldered in on position, and then I went over it again and wicked some solder in there, take care of any gaps. Then I pressure tested it. I found one little spot on the bottom that was poorly soldered, so I just hit that and that's fine. So I took a piece of 1/16 inch aircraft ply and I ran it the length of the tank, so the tank isn't, they tend to wear, so instead of scrubbing the hell out of the finish and the wood underneath, the vibration will be taken care of by the wood. And I just screwed that in with a couple of flange screws, and of course CA'd the holes after I threaded them in. And I put the engine in. Again, nothing spectacular about any of that. Made up my own guide like I mentioned, and then used I like that brass coupling that this comes with instead of the roll pin. It'd be easy enough to make one. I really like that idea. I used the kit horn and everything, and the clevis. I used blue Loctite. Once you put the blue Loctite on that clevis, it takes the wobble out of it. Kind of literally glues the threads on it. Skids all on. Landing gears on at 1/8 Dubro mounts. And I gave her a quick wipe down. Get all this stuff off her with sig thinner. And I used all the factory, or the kit push rods and stuff. So, yeah, it seems to got that little tight spot. I'm sure that'll wear. Normally I would have taken it apart and fixed it, but you kind of reached the point where I had enough. So she'll fly the way it is. I used medium CA to put the vertical fin on. Yeah, a bad looking airplane. I think I might actually order the kit and build a good one. I got that's a 3-ounce profile tank, by the way. And of course the Brodak 25. Had to swap ends on the needle valve. I use the Sullivan double screen fuel filters. They work good. The coarse one goes in the front, and then I got the finer one. There's no mention of balance point on it. Of course I got to break that engine in, so I'll be using a muffler. You're supposed to break them in with the mufflers on. That's it. One pain in the ass clown. Done and ready to go around in circles.